Going to talk about apprenticeships today. Piercing, but a lot of this would pretty much any job you have. If you're having these kind of issues, maybe you should get away. I'm going to give you 10 warning signs, 10 things you should look for before starting an apprenticeship, and 10 things that if you're experiencing one of these, maybe this isn't the person that you should be apprenticing under. Coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 134. So you might want to stick around. For those that are new here at the Body Piercing and Tattooing channel, welcome to the channel. Hope you're enjoying the videos, but you may not know who this feller is right here. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So what is this video for? I did a number of videos, I think 3 of them. There might be 3 or 4 of them in the past. I will try to link them below. And that was kind of an overview of basically letting people know what it's going to entail, in most cases, to getting an apprenticeship and going through the process of training to become a piercer. There is no real clear path to learning to become or becoming a professional piercer other than apprenticeship. There is not some college course you can take. There is not some seminar you can go to in the middle of nowhere that after 4 days you're going to magically appear on the other side of it as a fully vested piercer. However, there is also not any industry standard to what an apprenticeship should be, how it should be done, how it should be structured, and etc. So it's a real Wild West, buyer beware situation. So I'm going to give you some warning signs that you should look for if you are thinking about getting in an apprenticeship, or if you're in an apprenticeship and things aren't going the way that they should be going, to go, okay, this is wrong. I need to quit this and find somebody else. I personally know the hardest part of life is giving up on something you love, especially when you're in a situation where you think you're moving towards that. However, if there are roadblocks and things that are keeping you from doing it, that are just never going to be different, it might be best to just quit and start somewhere else. Quitting is a lot of times a lot harder than actually starting. But the rewards are usually substantially better than sticking around and sticking it out and trying to get through something that isn't working in the first place. Now, I want to talk about the roles that are involved in apprenticeship. An apprentice is somebody who's a student that is receiving a form of in-person, supervised job training and instruction for them to get to the point where they are mastering the art of body piercing. A mentor is someone who is not only teaching the apprentice how to pierce, but they're also invested in the well-being, both mentally, physically, and financially, of their student or their apprentice, and they are also responsible for them having the ability to master the art of body piercing. I think that's missed a lot because most people, it's once they get that power structure, they don't look and pay attention to how the apprentice is actually doing. I have had a number of apprentices over the years, and I learned early on that I have to not only be an instructor in the art of piercing, but I have to understand whether or not this person can continue and whether or not they have the stuff to stick in the industry. So let's go through it. Number 1, there isn't a written agreement. It seems like it should go without saying, but there should be some type of contractual arrangement, an apprenticeship agreement between both parties where everything is clearly outlined, including how long it's going to be for, what the average period of time is going to be, if there's going to be any compensation, if they're paying to get into the apprenticeship, and also a path, which I'm going to get into in a second, to actually making some income in that studio. It should also outline what their responsibilities are as an apprentice and what their responsibilities are as a mentor. Generally, when these are written up, they are basically in favor mainly for the mentor, but the mentor should also include ways for you to improve, because everybody involved, their end goal should be is you piercing either at that studio or somewhere else in the future. And having a clear pathway for that is very important. Number 2 warning sign: if you're not piercing. If you've been in a situation where you're doing an apprenticeship and it has been more than 3 to 4 months and you still have not touched a piercing needle or pierced somebody, you're in a situation where somebody's taking advantage of you. This common practice of bringing on apprentices and going, oh yeah, I'll train you for free. And then but in the meantime, you have to work the front counter. I need you to dust, mop, and sweep. I need you to clean the toilets. I need you to do this. Here's my car keys, go wash my car. That's a personal assistant or a counter person. Those people are actually compensated for what they do. The ladies and gentlemen that work, and everybody in between, that work our front counter here at the Skin Kitchen and Axiom, they are compensated by the artist and by the studio to be there. In fact, they receive tips, usually from the artists, on a regular basis. They are paid. Because you are an apprentice and supposedly you don't receive any income, it isn't okay to stick you on the phones for 4 months or 4 years and say, yeah, you're learning to pierce, and just have you scheduling appointments for the tattoo artist, the piercer, and everybody else, and selling jewelry, but never actually learning anything. What you're doing is you're volunteering. That is not an apprenticeship. Warning sign number 3, if your mentor is not supervising you while you're piercing. I generally have a path that I suggest, or that I have worked into my apprentice program, of where piercers can get to the point, apprentices can, to where they can pierce unsupervised. Even after that, I tend to step in, like for example, my current apprentice, Shannon, she's probably done a couple hundred nostrils at this point in time. However, I still will supervise from time to time just to make sure that she's not picking up any bad habits or needs work in any direction, that maybe to fine-tune her abilities a little bit more. That's my job. That when people come into my studio and they're given the option of having me do it or my apprentice, they are taking into account that the apprentice has less experience, but they're also doing the piercing or getting the piercing based on my recommendation as a professional. My name is on everything she does until she's no longer an apprentice. Number 4, and this is a huge one, if there is not a pathway to where you're going to make income, meaning, and this should be in the piercing agreement or the apprenticeship agreement, there should be a clear pathway of, if you've gone past this level, if you've done this many, for me, it's, you have to do 10 initial piercings free of charge on friends, family, whoever you can get in to do it. And that's more to get you kind of, help me evaluate where you need help. Then at that point in time, if you're comfortable and you're ready, and I feel you're ready, then we will move on to giving clients the possibility of getting pierced by you for either free or for a reduced rate with me supervising the whole time. Then you have to go through a process of checking out. I usually use an even number like 10. You have to do 10 of this piercing, 10 of this piercing, 10 of this piercing, correctly and supervise the whole time before you're going to get paid. Once you get to that point, I've checked you out on it and say, yes, I think you're capable of doing that. Piercing on your own, after you've done like 220 piercings and you've done 10 of those or maybe 15 of those, then this is how much you're going to get from each piercing. Also, jewelry sales, I usually give a percentage of that to my apprentices too, because they're taking the time to wait on customers, and they should have a bit of that additional profit. This is important, to have that clear path of where you need to go to finish your apprenticeship and become a piercer. Yes, it will take a long time because there are certain piercings, regardless of how busy the studio is or where it's located, that you're probably not even going to be able to see in 2-3 years. There's just certain piercings that are very uncommon or rare that are just not, you can't really check out on them in this method. However, staying in that apprenticeship and having that pathway is very important to feeling like you're doing something. Plus, having that income is huge in your ability to continue to pierce. No way around it. Number 5, if you are required to do non-piercing work, meaning piercing not related to what you're doing, like I brought up earlier, going and washing the boss's car, or running and getting food, or babysitting their kids, or cleaning their house, you are doing them either a favor, and thus it is voluntary, or they should compensate you for it financially. There is not any, you're not a slave, you're not an indentured servant. I remember there was a studio years ago that actually had someone they referred to as their shop gimp. And that's all they did all day was take care of everything that the shop needed. And they treated them terribly. And the person kept coming back under this wishful carrot that they were going to one day be apprenticed to tattoo. They did everything to destroy this person's morale, drive, ambition, everything. And at the end, they got absolutely nothing out of it. So there are boundaries. Of course, things like mopping floors, sweeping up, helping customers, possibly answering the phone, helping with paperwork. All of those things are part of the whole process of being a piercer. And they are lessons in activities you need to learn to do well because you're going to do them your whole career. However, the things outside of that have nothing to do with piercing. You're just basically doing somebody a favor. And if you feel inclined to do that, great. But the reality is it should never be required that you do those things. Number 6, if you're being hazed or harassed, yes, there's always going to be a little bit of ribbing, a little bit of teasing, a little bit of poking and prodding, but it's always done in a friendly manner around here. We often refer to Shannon as the part-timer or the elusive unicorn, basically because she doesn't work a full week, and that's because she has to have other jobs to supplement her income. It's an agreement. We've understood that, and I've made it. But occasionally, I'll give her a few jokes that I make fun of the fact that she's from a small town. However, if you're being hazed, which is things like just constantly being belittled, made to feel less than human, humiliated, degraded, and harassed physically or mentally on a regular basis, you are in the wrong place. This idea that it's boot camp and they have to tear you down to build you back up again, I do not believe in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't benefit anybody. You are a person who should be treated with respect and as a valued person and employee, not a punching bag. I wish I didn't even have to bring this one up in the year 2022, but sexual harassment. If you feel like you're being pressured to do sexual acts with your mentor, or if there's pressure to have a personal relationship in that way, or if you feel like your job depends on it, that is not in any way, shape, form acceptable. I don't care who you are. I don't care who your mentor is. That is not right. They are using their power to obtain something that is only yours to give freely to someone else. It's in a situation where it borderlines on non-consensual, and if anybody who's in a mentor status does that, I would hope that you would do everything in your power to make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else. And that includes contacting the authorities and letting everybody you know exactly what that person really is like. And that moves us on to number 8, substance abuse. There should be definitely a policy against it, especially during working hours of using any type of intoxicants. You should also, if you feel like your mentor has a substance abuse problem, it's going to show in their work eventually, and it's probably a situation that you do not want to be in. Any type of illegal activity around a studio is bound to be problems. It's going to be trouble. One of my mentors, Sherry Sears, she had somebody that would always claim that he taught her everything she knows about tattooing. after he was, I think she was his apprentice for a total of 6 months. And she would reply, yeah, he taught me a lot of things. Like, if you're going to deal drugs, don't do it out of your studio. If you're going to cook meth, do not do that in the basement of your studio. If somebody owes you money, don't go steal their truck and park it in front of your studio. You get what I'm getting at here. You are, as an apprentice, associated immediately with that studio and what goes on there. It will follow your reputation for the rest of your career. If there are issues there in that way, criminal or otherwise, it's probably best that you pack up and leave. Number 9, and this is kind of refreshing the whole thing, if you feel unsafe, if you feel like your personal well-being is not being taken care of, or that you feel physically threatened or otherwise, this is not an environment that you should be working in, and it's not an environment that's going to teach you anything. People should be around you, should be supportive of you gaining the art, of learning the art. They want you to excel. They want you to be better, and they want you to be in the business. Otherwise, you're in a situation where they don't give a living, I want to say a word, about you, and they want to get rid of you. And the last one, if you're piercing unsupervised after only a few days, you're not learning anything other than bad habits. This idea that you can watch a video and shadow somebody for a few days and then be able to pierce people, yeah, you can put piercings in people, you can put jewelry in them, but you're not really learning the right way, and you're not really learning much of anything, to be honest with you. This is an old tactic used in tattoo shops that are tired of people coming in and asking for piercings, so they train some guy or gal or what have you to do $25 piercings and buy the cheapest jewelry they possibly can find and set you loose after a day or two. This is not going to benefit you in the long run. You're not going to learn what you need to learn. And it's going to teach you some bad habits that are going to be hard to break if you ever try to improve. Well, that's it. That's 10 huge warning signs that you need to quit your apprenticeship or you do not want to get involved in that apprenticeship. If you like this kind of content, if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it, because we like it when you like it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you're notified every single time we post something. If you like merch, you like swag, you like t-shirts like this one right here, check out our merch store. A link is in the description. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see if your body piercing needs in the future. Well, Shannon would too. In the meanwhile, thank you for watching, and you might want to check out one of these other videos.